Even solo content creators get tempted to do interview podcasts once they discover there's a way to get paid on their very first interview. Guests already know the value of podcasts as a way to sell their books, get leads, or increase their audience. A service called PodMatch claims to help hosts find relevant guests fast without all the chasing around usually involved with booking. On the flip side, it gives guests direct access to shows actively seeking interviews. I've used it both ways, and today I'm going to give you my no BS analysis. As a host, did PodMatch deliver on its promise? As a guest, did it really increase my reach? Let's break down what it does, what it doesn't, and who truly benefits. My name is Robert Gaines, and I'm the host of the Free Time Mastermind podcast, an interview-based podcast for entrepreneurs. I'm also an author that sits in as a guest on other podcasts, mostly for business topics. If you've ever tried to grow an interview-style podcast, you already know the hardest part isn't subject matter or recording software. It's booking guests who can bring value to your audience. If you're a guest or want to be, your hurdle will be finding good shows to be on, exchanging tons of email, filling out lots of forms each time, and constantly being asked for your links, bio, and photos. I've done it. I've asked for it from others, and PodMatch alleges to solve all the above. But let's take a look at their site and see if they deliver on what they claim. This is what you'll see if you just go to podmatch.com. So this would be the site that you would bookmark. And from here, you can access the dashboard, which we'll go to. Now, I wanted to just start off just to say that they have options as a guest, a host, and both, or agencies, which agencies are normally a collection. They represent a collection of guests, and pricing will vary on that. And I'll get more into the pricing once we've done a high-level overview of the website. So this is Alex Sanfilippo, the co-founder of PodMatch, and there are a ton of educational videos associated with the website available here, and that's in the educational system. So actually, let me go into that very quickly. So they also run a podcast with really relevant information to podcasters, guests, hosts, interviewing techniques, which is fantastic. And they also have specific informational videos that I'll go over in a second because it's integral to the guest and host part of the website. But let's go to the dashboard so you can see what my dashboard looks like. Again, I'm a PodMatch Pro member, so what you're seeing is a reflection of that. I had 6 matches up here earlier, and I eliminated 3 of them this morning during a dry run shoot of this video. So you'll notice jumping out over here is a to-do list. Jeff is a potential guest for the podcast, and he's reached out. He's completed the paperwork. Now we just need to schedule a date and time, and this system is reminding me of that. Here are the interviews. I've got one upcoming, and it's going to be an interview where I am a guest on the Mike Wagner Show. Now, we've pushed it out to April 8th, but we'll probably get it done before that. I think we just use that as a time slot in the future until he has some time. So as you can see, I have 3 unscheduled. So there are either situations where I'm going to be a guest on somebody else's podcast or they're going to be a guest on mine that we've both shown an interest, but we just haven't made the commitment to schedule with date and time. 22 interviews have been completed. Again, and here's the breakdown of the combination. Now, that only shows 20, but that's 20 that have reviewed. I've sat in on 22, either as a guest or a host, and 20 of those folks have decided to give me a review. So this is the reach total. So that's just a sum total of the reach of every guest or host associated with those 22. All right, unpaid commission. We'll go into that too because there is an affiliate program. And this is estimated episode releases. I interviewed TEDx speaker Bruno Signaco on the 15th, and it was released the same day. I was a guest on Failcraft, and then you can look at the rest of those. There's also a leaderboard. As you can see, I'm still in the top 1%. I've slowed down with interviews a little bit to shoot this solo series, so I'm dropping in the rankings. I was in the top half of 1%. Just a few days ago. Stanley Bronstein, I've actually interviewed him, excellent guest. So these are the top guests right now, and then you can look at top hosts. I haven't made it into this yet, but some of these people at the very top, some of them are shooting 4 or 5 episodes a day, so it's very hard to compete with them. Daniel Lucas, I've been a guest on his podcast, and I believe this is Ezekiel at Failcraft, and I've been a guest there. So very hardworking podcasters there. Hard for me to break into this category. I've also been on Lethal Venom as well as Relatable Wisdom too, so I think. So yeah. So these are some top-notch hosts. So there is an internal messaging system. I won't open that because obviously I've been communicating with people and I want to keep their communications private. We will go down to Podcast Network. This is an additional network where people can also stay in contact. They bring up information. There's training. So if you want to grow as a podcaster, as far as your education, and look, I follow vidIQ on LinkedIn and on YouTube and other great sources that are primary speakers in the podcasting space. I would argue some of the content here is even far more relevant because think of it, in here, PodMatch is not trying to get views on YouTube. So they don't have any other agenda other than to make you a really good podcaster as a host or a guest. So I think the information, I've learned so much. I've podcasted, been a host for almost 2 years, and I've learned an incredible amount of information. Legacy team, which is a little bit like, if you're familiar with the Greater Chamber of Commerce, sometimes have ambassador teams. It's like guests and hosts that want to do free PR for PodMatch. So it's another opportunity to get the word out there for PodMatch. And also, too, I think that helps with the affiliate commissions if you want to earn affiliate commissions for suggesting PodMatch. So here's my guest profile. If you're a host, this is what you would see. I'm going to show you a trick here in a moment. If you're a host, a great way to get excellent questions for a guest. But let's go over this first. Obviously, I have a good high-res photo, headshot, then a little bit about myself, my links. And I've really pared down my social media to the things that are most important. Obviously, my website, my LinkedIn, and YouTube. That's really where I plant my flag these days. The tags, some of the primary subjects I talk about, anti-tags, I don't have anything there. But if there are things I definitely don't want to talk about, let's say politics or religion or something, you could put all of that in there. More high-res photos of the books. And I'll tell you this, I'm just going to spoil part of the ending right now. I'll tell you, as a guy that was chasing guests around in Facebook groups, to be able to pull this up for a guest and have access to all their social media, all their links, all their photos, because I have exchanged 6 or 7 emails with people just trying to get the photo, and then they don't send me the logo, and they send me the headshot and not the links, and I go back and forth, and meanwhile I'm scheduling. And then unfortunately, sometimes guests would get me some of this information the day of the podcast, or maybe even the day after, which makes it really, really difficult. So you can put your call to action in here as well. You know, my primary thing is I sell a book. So of course, I want everybody to go to Amazon and get a copy of that. And we're getting some reviews in for this new second edition, and we appreciate those of you that have purchased that. So if you're a host looking for a guest, you can also see other times that I've been interviewed. I even give you some cheater questions to start with that makes it easier for hosts. And then here is my super secret thing that I do when I have guests now that saves a lot of time. I hit Control A on my keyboard and then hit Control C to copy. And then I go into ChatGPT and I say, give me 10 engaging questions for this guest on my podcast. And then I paste everything. There you go. Now, I rarely ever use the exact questions because I don't think ChatGPT is where it needs to be just yet. But I do riff off of these. I take influence from these. And then obviously I'll do my own research. I'll watch their videos and anything else that I can find that I think might be unusual or interesting. And so there's a quick way to save a lot of time. I'll tell you, there's no way on Facebook that I could pull somebody's Facebook profile page or a LinkedIn page and get this much information in one place. And I love that PodMatch requires these people, these guests, to come in and fill this out. So obviously I'm speaking mostly as a host looking for guests, but let's look at my other profile. If you're a guest looking for a host, this is what you would see. So if you're a member as a guest, I think everybody should be both, but that's just my opinion. So this is what you see. And I have realized what I need to do is probably have my photo in here somewhere because my face, I'm the one doing the channel interview. So I probably need to improve this a little bit and put my name and face. I've seen other podcasters do that on PodMatch. So I'm learning. This is my channel's information. They'll also see how many subscribers I have. I'm big about setting expectations and also explaining what the benefit is. So I'm doing that. I'm setting expectations. I'm saying this is what happens. Our most popular episodes have this formula. So I'm very organized in my expectations. Now, are all guests going to read this? I don't know. But if you're a guest looking for a host, this is what you're going to see. And you're going to make sure that there's an alignment of subject matter and that you're talking to the right kind of audience. Now, they not only, and I'll go more into this in a second when I get into the breakdown on the subscriptions, but I get 6 matches every 4 hours. But I have to clear the 6 matches out before they give me the next batch of 6 matches. So these 3 matches may sit here for a while and then they'll add another 3, bringing it back to 6. I have hosting preferences, guesting preferences, things, you kind of your pages do and don'ts. Again, if you don't want to go on political, if you don't want political guests or as a host, or if you don't want political hosts as a guest, you can set all of that. They have now a new connection relationship manager that tells me when my most frequent last communication were with guests. So I've interviewed Stanley, Bruno, and Max, and this is when I've last spoken to them. And then I was a guest on Daniel Lucas's podcast. He runs a number of podcasts. I always call him the busiest man in podcasting. There's a messaging system too, which is great. I don't have to look at my email. I can basically come to this one place. Now I'll say I still use Zoom and I still use Calendly, and I don't see anything in PodMatch replacing that anytime soon. But almost everything can be done on this site. And I won't click on messages because obviously that's private communication between myself and people. But workflows, if you're highly organized and you want to create processes for different things, such as your editing, shorts, interview workflows, you can set those up. I highly recommend that. I've been doing it long enough now. I have a system in place, but you can make it even more organized. You can look at your statistics, and then here we go with the affiliates. You can sign up to get a custom affiliate code, and that's mine, which I'll include in the description section of the YouTube video. All right, let's get back to the original splash page. Let's look at what you'd see if you're a host. So you could watch this video, but we'll get down here to what it costs. If you're a host looking for guests, you can be a host for $6 a month. If you interview another podcast standard member, you get $16. If you're a standard host and you interview a professional PodMatch guest, you get $32. Now, you can also be a professional host. Again, I'm at this level and it's the same price, but I'll show you that in a second. So the biggest difference I see is the number of matches. You get 3 new matches every 4 hours as a standard host. You get 6 new matches every 4 hours as a professional. You can also go on their search function. That's what I was trying to remember to show you. What I looked at before was ultra marathon. If I can spell right. I'm the world's worst multitasker. There we go. So even as niche as ultra marathon is of a term, you've got a few people. If you look at marketing, you'll never run out of guests. Anything to do with business, that's for hosts. If you just want to be a guest, let's say you have a book to promote and a standard guest is $32 a month. As a guest, you don't get paid. As a guest, you're just paying the subscription. If you're a standard guest, that's okay, but it's a much better enticement to be a professional guest, because if you are, all of the hosts on this platform know they're going to get $32. I mean, let's be honest, people do look at that. Some hosts are big enough that they don't care about the money. That, they might have sponsors and other streams of revenue. But if you're really looking to get on a lot of podcasts and you want to get up and running, I don't think look, I know for a lot of people, there's a big difference in $32 to $64, but if you're really trying to get out there and promote something, I say go all the way. It would be smarter for you to do $64 a month for 3 or 4 months and get on as many podcasts as humanly possible than it would be to just play around with this and try it out barely for $32 a month. I mean, my whole philosophy is I do something all the way or I don't do it at all. That's just my suggestion. So let's go to the other options. What if you're both? $38 if you're both. So from $32, $6 more, you can do both at the standard level. So I think if that's a good deal right there. So I would say none of those others make sense to me personally if you're going to do both. And hey, if you're only a guest, leave the door open to be a host or be a host every now and then. If you're a host, if you're primarily a guest, but you want to make some money, put yourself down as a host and you can still earn the up to $32 per interview if you're interviewing those pro members. This is my membership level. And I'll tell you that the amount of time I've saved chasing down guests, because they say on average, most interview style podcasts run out of guests at about the 10-month mark. And that's almost exactly when I started struggling. And I had a VA at the time. That's another thing too. Although I still am very close with my VA and we're definitely going to collaborate in the future, PodMatch has virtually eliminated the need. I'd say PodMatch and vidIQ, those two things together, have virtually eliminated my need for having a VA. So the cost is pretty close to the same, except I'm obviously able to work on my own, at my own pace, at my own schedule. And so the cost of the VA and the cost of these programs are about equal. So there's a couple of different ways to make money. As I said, if you're a host, you can make either $16 to $32 per interview. Let's see what the terms are. Earn up to $153 per member per year. Oh, 20% commission on a recurring basis. Wow, I didn't even know that. I'm learning all kinds of new stuff. So, but I assume that's 20% of the $64 a month times 12 months. I don't know. You all tell me in the comments. So I wanted to see if it gives a breakdown of it doesn't. Let's see, as a PodMatch host, earn up to $32 per interview. Okay. First time booking completion bonus. Oh, okay. So the $6, that's why the number was strange, because I had gotten a bonus for doing my first booking. Before I go back on camera, there was one more thing I wanted to share with you. I'm in my profile settings now. So there's something I complain about pretty frequently on social media, and that is the difficulty to get rid of a subscription service, to cancel it. I even mentioned it in my book, Scintilla. I said, if you're going to be an ethical company, you have to have an easy one-click unsubscribe or one-click cancel. So I was really shocked when I got in here and they have a danger zone button that you can click and immediately remove not only all your data, but to immediately stop billing and to completely delete your account. All I did, let me show you how easy this is. I just went to settings and then to danger zone. So you could be there, you could delete your account technically in 3 clicks. Very, very simple. So again, the emails that I've received and the videos I've watched from Alex Sanfilippo and the other people at PodMatch consistently show very ethical behavior, and that one-click cancel is a big part of that. The other thing I'll mention too is I've had to reach out. I haven't had many issues with the service at all. Mostly I just had questions about things that weren't completely clear. And every time I've reached out to the PodMatch support team directly via email, I usually get an answer. If it's a work day, I usually get an answer within 4 hours from a real human being. And there's been times where I wrote something over the weekend and I got a pretty immediate answer, again, by a human being on Monday. So you just don't get that with other companies. So those are the features and the pros. I did mention the one con. Of course, that's something within my control, is setting up the podcast page. What I do think PodMatch could improve as far as the host page is concerned is allow 2 photos to be uploaded. One, an upload of, let's say, the podcast logo, and then maybe 1 or 2 photo slots for the host, because sometimes podcasts have multiple hosts. Having space for more photos on the host page would be better, because when you look at a guest, you see their face, it's their profile, but podcasts are also about human beings. So the host is a person too. So when you go to mine, I didn't like the fact that you just see my logo and you don't see me, because we like to see faces. We want to know what the host looks like, because I didn't realize until today that when people go on my profile as a host and they want to be a guest on my channel, they probably don't even know what I look like until I turn on the camera the day that we're going to do the recording. And that surprised me. So yeah, I think PodMatch should really put a couple of different spaces for photos so that they can see the logo for the company and the face of the host. I think that would be better. So in the meantime, my workaround is going to just insert my photo and my name inside of the logo somewhere and put it back up there. So that's not that big of a deal. My second criticism, which this one is a little bit stronger, is I think the value for a host like myself that has an interview style podcast, can't recommend it enough. Go all the way to the top. Don't play around. Get the $64 Pro version. Absolutely. I think that's the way to go. As a guest, my profile is pretty solid, but I've had a pretty high rejection rate, which is surprising. So I think some of that has to do with the fact that my social media reach is not gigantic. It is definitely growing. Thank you to you YouTube subscribers and to all the people that are helping me grow my LinkedIn. I had a really gigantic Facebook presence at one time, but I completely deleted that. And of course, that makes it hard to sell myself to podcasts as a guest. So they do look at that. As a host myself, if I'm trying to decide if I want a guest to come on or not, sometimes the size of their social media presence makes a difference in my decision. If I'm on the fence, I might look at that. I don't do that exclusively. If you've seen my video on perfect podcast guest, I don't care if somebody has reach, but if they're lacking in other areas, then having a lot of reach helps. So that's one thing that I'm frustrated about. As a guest, I'm not as happy as the service as I am as a host. As a host, I think it's fantastic. As a guest, I still get a pretty high rejection rate for being a guest on podcasts. And again, I'm just a guy selling a book, so maybe that's what it is. I think it has a lot more to do with my social media reach and just the dynamic, because one great thing that makes it so great for hosts on PodMatch is there's so many people on there. If you check online, I think they say they have around 16,000 members. I don't have any doubt about that, because I think as a host, you would never run out of guests. You would never have to go anywhere except PodMatch for your guests. So I think it is the place. If you're a guest looking to be on a podcast, I think that road is a little tougher. You're going to have to put work into it. You're still going to have to do individual emails to those hosts pitching yourself, but there's a much better system around it. And that's really what you're paying for. So I've got to figure out what I can do to make myself more attractive as a guest. They do have videos about that. I have watched them. There's some things that I could implement. But again, as a host, it's been easy. And I don't have a gigantic channel, but I could do guests from here until the end of eternity and never run out. I don't target guests that are pro members just for the money. A matter of fact, I would say, at least 20% of my guests currently come from outside of PodMatch, just because sometimes I'll run into somebody on YouTube or LinkedIn or personally face-to-face that I find very interesting, and I just want them on the show. Like I said, you could just use PodMatch exclusively. As a thank you to my subscribers, I do want to give away 1 free month of PodMatch. You will see that giveaway mentioned in the post section. I can't go into too much detail on video here because once we have a winner, obviously we'll close that down, but we'll have other things we'll be giving away for each subsequent episode as well. So keep your eye on that. Check the YouTube post section for more information. If you don't win and you still want to become a subscriber to PodMatch, which I encourage you to do so, there will be a link in the description where you can click on that. And as mentioned in the video, I will get an affiliate commission for that, which I hope you join. I hope you spread the word and you can get an affiliate commission. Because again, going over the big benefits as a host is you can get $16 or $32 per interview as long as you're interviewing somebody from PodMatch. You also have the affiliate revenue that you can get. Could be a great source of income. I don't think you're going to get rich doing it, but as much as these cameras and microphones and lights and all this stuff costs, it's nice to get a little bit back for each time you sit down. And of course, it's amazing to spend time with people. I think it's been fantastic, this podcasting journey. So I think PodMatch is one of many great pieces of software that you can use. We're going to have more videos in this series that talk about tech stacks, some of the different equipment software that I've used, and also some of the tactics and techniques I've used to grow this channel, which has gone through an amazing amount of growth recently. So thank you so much for that. Of course, like the video, subscribe, share it, share the episode. We still have more to go in this series. We've got a few more videos that will go over several different aspects of content creation and publishing, including explaining how I've really exploded this YouTube channel in the last 30 days. Stay tuned. A lot more ahead. Thank you so much. See you on the next one.